Good evening. I'm Shailesh Rau, and I'm the founder and CEO of Intellectus Consulting, which is a strategic marketing capabilities building and consulting services firm for the pharmaceutical industry. It's a pleasure to be once again associated with all of you through the Indigital Mentor League platform. And I had the opportunity to, share my thoughts with all of you last time, a couple of weeks ago, on an important topic of the challenges faced by the product managers, during the pandemic. However, today I would focus my talk again around these 4 or 5 pivots as to how the transformation is actually, happening or is desirable, in this period. And I would also like to give some suggestions. So the first one is around the customer. First of all, try and understand what your customers are up to in today's era of digital engagement. And for that, you would need to do 2 things. You would need to do, first thing is social listening, and second is the digital footprint mapping. If you don't do social listening and digital footprint mapping, you really don't know what your customers are doing. So it's very important to be very cued into what the customers are reading up, which websites they are visiting, where are they collecting the information, and what's the kind of health portals, platforms that they constantly engage, whether it is for their routine telemedicine consultations or for their knowledge gathering or for simple interactions with their peers and the physicians community at large. So I think the brand managers need to develop the new skills of digital, which is into social listening and what I call as digital footprint mapping. The second suggestion is, which I say, is always believe in the in customized targeted email communications. That's one route. We have always given random email communications to physicians, whether they make sense or not. And we all know that the click rates of emails is abysmally poor, less than 3 to 5%. Customers don't open our mails because some of the topics that we send communication on are absolutely irrelevant. In today's digital era, you cannot afford to send random email communications. So you need to have targeted and customized email communications with your doctor specialties, without which you will not make sense anymore. The third important piece is the webinars. Actually, for the last 1 year, webinars have seen over a 300 to 500% increase. And that is the most often used, and I probably believe overused tools, because every single organization across multiple therapy areas is organizing 3 to 5 webinars every day. And you can imagine the sheer amount of load on customers to attend webinars, not only as audiences or as speakers or even as panelists. Now, this is not helping. Webinars are a powerful tool, but please use them selectively. Not for every brand, not for every therapy area. That's not going to work. Some brands, by the very nature of their disease and the patient profiles, don't need webinars. It will be more of direct, remote detailing kind of efforts rather than just doing webinars. The fourth important, form of engagement with customers could be having WhatsApp CMEs, which is a very cost-effective and a simple form of doing closed-loop engagements, digital engagements with your customers, apart from the online, CME programs that you run. There is also another channel which many companies use, and that is known as the GDMs, or what's called as the group doctor meetings, which are essentially focused not just roundtable, but also what we call as the meetings which are of prescribers and non-prescribers. So they're very, very focused meetings on particular brands, and they create those adoption shifts and loyalty shifts between non-prescribers and prescribers. So that's something that marketers would do well to kind of look at. We also run a lot of advocacy boards online. So advisory boards in the physical form are out, but you can always consider doing ad boards online. So this is as far as the first part is concerned, that is the customers. The second comes to brands. Now, when you talk of brands as a very important criterion, that is the very big piece. How do pharma marketers actually engage meaningfully with brands? I think the first thing to do is, I think the industry has been very, very effective, is the remote detailing. That's, having it through the iPad detailing on the Viva platform or any other platform that most companies use is very effective. You seek time, and we have seen that on an average, the amount of time spent on Viva calls, engage calls with customers has been, in fact, surprisingly higher than the physical F2F calls, average about 9, 10, 11 minutes as compared to just the 3 minutes of the physical calls. I think if you make it more meaningful, you can actually drive more effectiveness through the remote detailing, which is a very powerful tool now because the customer is willing to look at you, listen to you even in the virtual format. And you can do personalized consultative selling even in the virtual format for high-end specialty care products. I think the other important point which we should look at even in terms of brand promotion would be you looking at, disease management portals, having unbranded product websites. Don't have product websites because customers hardly come to branded product websites. Use unbranded product websites. Do more of holistic disease management portals. Set it up, having chat rooms, inviting reviews from HCPs, which is again a very powerful way to engage customers for your brands. Brands need real world evidence. Hardly, I don't see many of the companies engaged in RWE, which is real world evidence data collection. Use that data and throw it back at customers to engage them more meaningfully as to how your brands can create tremendous shifts in, outcomes. So basically talk more of outcomes rather than just, product features and benefits, which don't sell really anymore. And I think in terms of brands, we should also look at the fifth part is the wraparound services. We have always been talking about beyond the pill, but I think now is the time to really do holistic disease management solutions. One could be through telemedicine consultation platforms. One could also be through, having the patient, getting into the center, the cornerstone of the strategy. So build in, powerful patient bundling tools, like for example, diagnostic platforms, doing product bundling kind of stuff, and doing targeted patient education programs. You could also look at, targeted disease campaigns, city-wise, geography-wise, wherever the HCPs are located. So that's the second piece which I talk about the brand. The third piece is the patient engagement strategy. I think when you talk about patient engagement strategy through the channel, which is actually the channel, you got to use digital channels extremely well. As I mentioned, channels are available. Their effectiveness rates are very high. And you should also look at integrating the patient into the whole ecosystem when you build out digital strategies. So many companies which have high-end products, specialty care products for rare diseases or for even autoimmune diseases or even for mass specialty like diabetes and cardiovascular can look at not only repurposing the real-world evidence data, but also doing predictive risk modeling for stratified patient population, high-risk patient populations, building out voice of the customer into their clinical trial protocols, along with their medical and clinical staff, which also helps to build a great deal of robustness around the strategy. The last is actually the channel. In channel, I think marketers need to understand very clearly that you've got to build heat maps of physicians. Without understanding preferences of physicians, build out their heat maps, you will never really understand your customer and the kind of engagement. One of the biggest problems in the last 5 years is studies have shown across the globe that engagement of physicians with the pharmaceutical industry has gone down by 50%. It's because we don't make any sense anymore, but it's also the fact that they just simply don't have the time. So if you want to make sense to physicians, you've got to really look at targeted digital channel initiatives. You've got to look at heat maps for physicians so that you know what you're actually driving in terms of salience. You've also look at real-time, kind of engagement. So you build out chatbots, you build out remote, kind of effectiveness platforms for these physicians in terms of targeted communications, in terms of product websites, as I said, unbranded CME programs, etc., so that the channel actually drives the effectiveness. So I hope I've been able to kind of, talk about these 4 points of channel, customer, brand, and performance metrics, which I think is a continuation of last time. Thank you so much for your time, and cheers.